Thank you, Dr. Amani, for the wonderful session on the digital transformation in pharma industry MENA region. We invite all of you to check the brochures put on the table to know more about AmpleLogic and the services they can offer. I'm now inviting our next speaker, Mr. Manoj Chitnis. All the way from India, Mr. Manoj is the Vice President of the Corporate Quality at GB Chemical Pharmaceuticals. He is a Bachelor of Pharmacy and holds a Master's degree in Chemistry. During the 29 years of his tenure, he has worked in various disciplines such as production, quality control,
How do I sound? Good? Come on guys, make some noise. Hello Cairo. Very good morning. So I'm Manoj Chitnis from India, and I'm here after a hectic travel. I reached here yesterday, I'm again traveling today. So you must be wondering why this gentleman has traveled so far. So in my country, India, there is a tradition to share knowledge. But if you have knowledge, you share it and it multiplies. You agree? Great. Thank you. And with this note, I will start my presentation with respect to shifting from CSV to CSA. So it's computer software validation to computer software assurance. Software validation to computer software assurance. And I represent a company, JB Chemical and Pharmaceutical. Our logo and our tagline is good people for good health. So thank you. Okay, sorry, somehow this is not working, so I have to stick to dais. Okay, so you see the history of validation. The buzzword goes long back. Sorry, this is not, yes, this is the second slide. And you see here, the history goes long back to year 1997, where we had 21 CFR Part 11, which specifically talks about electronic records and electronic signatures. So where we had the word validation of a computer system. Then after it came to software validation guidance, which was issued by FDA to elaborate it further. And in year 22 now we have computer software assurance. So what's the difference here? Can anyone? Because computer software assurance has been issued by FDA. So if you see here, The 21 CFR Part 11 is a law. It's a code of federal regulation. So you have to be abide by that. But the other two documents which we have, one is the validation of software and the other is the assurance. Those are guidances. So FDA gives a free interpretation at your own discretion, isn't it? Another difference, the Part 11 talks about more towards electronic records, but these two guidances, the scope is more towards the device manufacturing industry. Though in the scope of the computer software validation, FDA says that the particular guidance is based on general principles of the software validation. Talks about the device manufacturing. Let me check again if it works. No. Am I doing it wrong? Oh, sorry, my mistake. Okay, great. Now, these are some excerpts from the particular documents which we discussed. The first is 21 CFR, which talks about the validation, and the particular statement says, what is the expectation? Please pay attention. FDA says that validation of systems is must to ensure accuracy, reliability, consistent intended performance, and the ability to discern invalid or altered records. So it includes the altered or invalid. Then goes the general principles of software validation, the final guidance for industry and FDA staff. Now what does it speak? See, these are the excerpts from the, I'm too fast, sorry. Yes. So what does it say? At point number 2.3, the guidance tells you about the least burdensome approach. And it says that we believe we should consider the least burdensome approach in all areas of medical device regulation. So FDA allows you to think differently. But at the same time, it asks you to come back and tell your approach before you go for it. Okay, I have to be a little slow. The guidance says how much validation evidence is needed. It says the level of validation effort should be commensurate with the risk posed by the automated operation. So this is the key statement which is made in the guidance of software validation, which is way back in 2002. And now we are standing in 2022 where FDA is asking us to do assurance. So what are the common CSV pain points? When we go for validation, why we are being restricted or what we don't go for it with an open approach? So the first pain point is people are not really ready to accept automation. Maybe it's a culture as yes, we can do it. And in today's world, when we operate the Android-based mobile, so many softwares easily, so it should not be very difficult for us to handle the automated operation as well. But the main mindset of the industry has to be changed, that automation is going to help them in the future operations. The second pain point is errors made while development. So when the software is made, most of the time the software designer, they are not known to the, or they doesn't know the pharma industry. So they develop the software as per their own convenience. And that there lies the lacuna in the development itself. So if we togetherly, as AmpleLogic is doing right now, we are associated quite a long time with AmpleLogic, so we ask them with certain requirements. Then Doctor, you are also associated quite a long. Once the software is developed, now it has to come to the client side. Like I am a client, then it has to come to me, then I have to install it, then I have to run the same tests again and again at the client side. So that becomes a pain point for me again. The next point is system understanding. I was, in my earlier organization, we actually installed LIMS. And when I was going through the SOPs and all, I saw lots of authorization which are listed down in the SOP itself. So I checked with my IT supervisor that can you please elaborate me the individual authorization for what it is meant for. And he was unable to do so. Then I asked, you have certain list and you even don't know where the application goes actually. Take care, and we need to know our systems very carefully. Another pain point is documentation, as we discussed. When it comes to client side, we have to repeat the test. There is a lot of documentation involved. Paper, and paper it goes on. So that is another pain point. And then we have post go live issue. Once the software is installed, it's in a different environment altogether because it is tested at vendor's end and now it came to the client side. So when it goes post live, there are a lot of issues. And then we as a client or we as a customer, we expect so many things from the software to do. I remember a classical case where LIMS was installed in my QC. And after installation, people from different group, they started putting their own requirements that the code again, maybe they have to validate again, and that thing may lead to an error, definitely. And it's a burden to the software also. So please take care to put your requirements right at the first time so that the software is developed in the right way and you implement it also in the right way. Okay, now why FDA is making this change? Because they already have a guidance for validation, then why for assurance? So the first point is putting the right quality product to the market. Because if you remember, in device industry there were a lot of recall because of the failure of the software, and a device like a pacemaker product, right quality product into the market. That is why FDA bring this particular guidance in place. Then the second aspect is focus on safety and quality. So the developer or the user can focus more on the quality of the product rather than documenting it. Third is to make people aware about the requirement, because many people doesn't know. As I showed you in my previous slide, a particular statement that the software validation guidance also speaks about the risk assessment and using a less burdensome approach in validation. But I think nobody of us paid attention because we are engrossed in compliance or attending the auditor expectation mostly. So FDA wanted to make us aware that yes, this also can be approach and how better you can apply it. So it's a further elaboration of the validation guidance. Now with this guidance, you have more that FDA expect less documentation and more testing. The next part is critical thinking. So FDA want people to think, to do the risk assessment rightly. And once you do the risk assessment rightly, then come out with the assurance testing. And then you can have the only test cases, those are really required. And last, part 2, encourage automation. Why automation? Because most of the data integrity issues are addressed through automation, through time stamping and the audit trails. Here are certain definitions just for understanding. So, computer system validation is a confirmation by examination and provision of objective and documented evidence that a computerized system predetermined. This is what validation is. And what is assurance? It is a risk-based approach to establish confidence in the automation used for production or quality system. Please make a note. Automation used for production or quality systems and identify where additional rigor may be appropriate. So where you have to put pressure or put attention, that is what is expected out of the assurance. So how it works for production and quality system software? So firstly, it describes as a risk-based approach to identify additional rigor for validation activities. Where to put exactly my efforts, that this guidance tells. Second part, not related to software, but it is related to a product which I handle. With your permission, I will just share that example. And I hope most of the folks here are from pharma industry, so they can relate with that example. So in my earlier assignments, we received a raw material, potassium chloride, which was failing to a particle size. So for typical ER grade product, we require particle size precisely as per the specification. And this particular raw material which we received, potassium chloride, it failed into the particle size specification. And the first consignment failed, then the second came in, it also failed. So in our warehouse, there were tons of material sitting idle. What will you do? Can anybody suggest me a way out? Because you don't have an option to order the material, because it is failing consistently. You don't have an alternate option. Your markets are dried up. What will you do? Okay, no, I thought I did something wrong. So we came up with a novel thought process that yes, my API is failing. Fortunately, the API cost was not much. Potassium chloride being a API with low cost. So then we decided to do a sizing. So to match our specification. So if I have 100 kg of material and my specification says that it has to be say X, within X micron say 20%, Y micron say 80% and Z micron say 100%. So we size the material. Doing this, we took a batch. We proved that the batch is also complying to the finished product specification as per submitted document. Then we filed a CB30 to FDA that this is what we have done, please approve. And FDA approved. Have you ever thought of any such critical thinking or out of the box thinking? So this is how we have to think. And FDA accepts such thought processes, such out of box thinking. So I just thought I should share this example with you, how it works. The word assurance works. So please pay attention to the word. FDA want assurance. And we made the assurance with our raw material specification. We made assurance with our finished product specification. We made our assurance with the notification. Then we send the product to the market. That's how it works. Okay, back to presentation.
Okay.
I'm sorry. In the meantime, we can have any questions, please.
In your exam, do you have the permission of regulations or authority to do this exercise
Sorry, please come again.
for the particle size?
Rightly said, first we did the experimentation. We documented some protocol because always when you do something within the regulated environment, you need to have a script.
Yes.
What are you going to do? So we wrote a nice protocol, what we are going to do. We documented all the things. Once we have proof that doing this, we are complying all the requirements of quality, safety. Then we went to FDA with all the data.
But if this, let me ask you something. Is the particle size was already mentioned in the file registered in your regulatory?
No, it was not earlier mentioned.
So it's your in-house
That's why,
specs.
yes, that's why I said we filed a change before effect 30, CB 30.
Okay.
So we informed FDA that we are going to do this. Do you approve? Once FDA approved, then we went ahead with the change. After blending, it was all set. It was all validated. So the change I did with the raw material only. So for raw material, which I did blending, that process only I had to validate. Once it is done, the rest is all set.
Okay. Thank you.
Hope I answered your question.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. My apologies. Okay. Can you please move it to the next slide? Another example. Come on, boys and girls, make some noise. Motivate me. Is it too cold? What is happening then? Tell me. Why you guys are so cold? Motivate me, please. Motivate me, please, to share something interesting. Okay, so I will share another example by the time. So, how many of you perform daily balance calibration? Can anyone answer? Can I have the mic, please? Daily balance calibration in your production, at your shop floor. Verification or validation? Okay, please. How do you do it?
For example, we have a using range and balance.
I will stop you here, and sorry for the interruption. So if you have a balance having capacity 100 kg, which weights will you choose?
The capacity 100 kg.
Yeah, the balance has capacity of
we
100
use
kg.
one in the lower limit and one in the upper and one in the middle for verification.
Great, thank you. You all heard him, and everybody does same? No? Please give mic to the gentleman. How do you do it?
I will talk about analytical balances.
No. I am asking about shop floor balance.
Okay, it's the same way. But
Same.
it's the same mentality, it's the same approach. You said or asked about a daily calibration. Okay? You mean daily calibration?
Daily verification, you can say.
According to the regulation, for my knowledge, it's not required to make
Most of us follow the same. Yes.
The verification, you can choose one point for verification, but for calibration, you can choose the lower, middle, and upper.
Yes. Very right. Everybody does so. But not in my organization. I will give you another way. Another thought process or a tagline. Like how many weight you can lift. How much weight you can lift? Weight, like 10 kg you can weigh easily. Maximum, or say a general number.
Again, please.
How much weight you can lift?
Yeah. Depends. Two.
Depends, 50 kg? A general number. 100?
No.
If a person, I am just giving you a thought process. So if a person like me, Manoj Chitnis, I can easily lift say 50 kg of weight. Am I not able to lift 10 kg as well? Because 50 kg is my maximum capacity. So 10 kg also easily liftable for me. So similar principle if you apply to a balance. Like if my balance is capable of weighing the least, like I asked a question that if I have a 100 kg capacity balance and if the balance has a least count say of 100 gram for example 0.1, if that balance can accurately read a 0.1 gram weight, it will be definitely weigh or read a weight more than 0.1. So that was the baseline of our thought. It was a kind of thought which came out through our group discussion. One fine day, my production people came to me. They said, every day we are carrying lots of weight with us. So because you have to weigh for the entire range. So if you have to weigh 100 kg, you need to have that much of weight to carry with you. So one person, one operator is engaged for at least couple of hours doing the exercise. So what is the fun? So give us some way out. So that was a trigger point for us to think in the direction where we arrived now. So we started weighing only the least count of that weight of the least count of that balance. So if a balance having 100 kg capacity with a least count of 0.1, I will define a weight for daily verification only 0.1. So that will reduce my burden of daily weighing, reduce my time as Any thoughts? Okay. Or nothing to comment?
No.
Yeah, that we will do in the monthly one. So what we did is,
So you have to challenge minimum and maximum also. I cannot rely on one point unless I make a validation for this verification and I assure that the minimum checkpoint or minimum or using one balance unit will cover all the risk during my
How?
working range.
Because, yeah, let me address her first. Give the mic. So what I have to say here is, once you go by the principle of weighing, you have to really go into weighing the least weight will help me for the daily verification. And I agree that at some time point, I have to do the calibration for the entire range, which can be monthly, which can be at any given time period.
Okay. But
Yes,
regarding verification, the USP has said that it is a periodic check for parents. And the periodic check for parents should be performed by two tests. Okay. First one is the accuracy test, and the second one is the repeatability testing. Accuracy test, we choose to execute the sensitivity test because, as we know, that is a linear relationship between the mass, okay, and the response of the balance, and this linear relationship, the slope shall be only one. So the sensitivity test of the balance. The acceptance criteria is half of the acceptance criteria of the calibration of tolerance. Also, if you want to check the repeatability of the balance, you shall check it before 5% or below of the balance. It is an IUSB, also an EB recently. So only two standard weights you can rely on when you perform your periodic check. It is not a daily, it is a periodic check based on your risk assessment and your SOPs. Because of there is no difference between the below 5% in the repeatability effect of the standard weights. So you can rely only on the 5% and 100% of the balance. One at 5% or below for doing repeatability, and one at the maximum for doing sensitivity. You may cover extra, okay? You may cover some weight in between, okay? But for seeking of satisfying some observations from legal sources only.
Yeah,
only.
there may be different versions.
Yeah.
There may be different thought processes. What I'm trying to prove here is how you think critically, how you look at your processes, how you identify the risks, and how you assure at the end of the day what required by FDA is the assurance. So thank you very much for your
Thank you.
viewpoints. So are we set for the presentation? Thank you. These examples may provoke some kind of thoughts in your mind. You may go back, give your own thinking or thoughts to it and bring out something new, something creative, something which will prove assurance. Okay, next slide. Please help. Yes, it is there. Now it will. I'm sorry. So we discussed about this. We discussed about the methods to establish assurance. I have to wait. Yes. So this will supplement the general principle of CSV, the super. Okay, now it is running too fast. Okay, thank you. So we were at the third point, where the CSA exactly comes in picture. So this will supplement the general principle of CSV and it will supersede the section 6. Which is the validation of automated process equipment and quality system software. Now it discusses basically the specific risk consideration, acceptable testing methods, and efficient generation of objective evidences. Okay, so this system validation. You will see that the first part discusses about the purpose and scope, then comes the context for the software validation, then principles of software validation, activities and tasks, and the sixth part, which is the validation of automated process equipment and quality system software, will be replaced by this computer system assurance at a later stage. So how is the CSA roadmap? What are the exact points we are going to discuss? So the first step is identifying the intended use of the particular software, obviously. Then second step is determining the risk-based approach. The third stage is and the fourth is establishing the appropriate record. So these are the 4 steps through which a computer software assurance can be made. Now we will discuss the first step, the intended use of software in the production or quality system. So what the guidance says, there are 3 types which are described in the guidance. The type 1 software which is used as a part of production or the quality system. The second type is the software that supports production or the quality system for its intended use. And for both these types, validation is required. Now there is third type for the software which is not used as a part of production or the quality system. Now here to Okay. So, to make this part of this session more participative, I need your help. So I have come long way from India. I have brought some sweets which are made in India. The people who participate, the friends sitting in this audience who want to support me, because I alone cannot go through the entire session unless you participate, unless you respond. And unless you do it, I will also not come to know whether you really understood the topic or not. So let's participate. I request all of you to participate. What is their viewpoint? So the first system which I have chosen is QMS, the software for quality management system like change control, deviation or complaint management. Would anyone like to participate? What I need here is the evaluation of this particular software on the basis of the first principle of assurance, the intended use in the production or quality system. So you have to evaluate whether quality management system software works directly in the production or quality system or not. Who want to answer? There is Mohammed. Oh, no worries. I will take care. So I discussed or elaborated the first step, how the assurance has to be made. And what the first principle says that you have to evaluate the intended use of the software in your system, whether it's supposed directly into production or quality, whether it is used directly into the production or quality, or it is not used in the production or quality. I will take you back to the previous slide.
How would you use the software or you intend to use the software in your system? النظام السوفت وير بتاعهم السوفت وير اللي هم عاملينه لامبل لوجيك ازاي انت ممكن تستخدمه في السيستم بتاعك او انت هتستخدمه ازاي او انت هتشتغل بيه ازاي ولا هو كده.
So is it my failure? I was discussing about the roadmap, how we have to achieve computer software assurance. Okay, and there were 4 steps. There are 4 steps to do so. The first step is to evaluate the use of the software, whether the software is used directly into your production system or quality. Second, whether it supports in the production or quality system. And the third category is it does not participate or support the yes. So now, Mike, please.
Yes, QMS is directly with production and the quality or production quality, because for deviation and change control and so on, this is directly our intended use for the quality purpose.
How? How? Please pay attention. In detail for the QMS also, which will be a burdensome exercise. So I am asking again you to reevaluate.
Yes.
Do you really think that QMS support production or quality system?
Yes, support the quality system.
How?
For example, for deviations and change controls and market complaint, all these quality elements will affect the quality of the product.
So if it fails,
monitoring all activities.
yes, I do agree that it monitors all the kappa, but not only kappa, yes, complaint management, there is everything. But the software doesn't solely
the functions you need the software to do. First, you have the list, what functions this software will do.
yes,
And-
so tell me about QMS.
Yes. I will give a general idea. After you listed the functions you need the software to do as a CAPA or a change control, you must do a risk assessment to if this system failed.
Okay, I
If
will,
this
I will
system-
stop you here.
Okay.
That will come after.
Okay.
So we are only focusing on the evaluation of the software, where it goes exactly in the system. I need to put it first, whether it goes or participate in the production,
Yes.
whether it supports
Yes.
or whether it does not support.
It depends upon if it's a QMS. If the QMS is the sole, the one software, there is no alternative. Regulatory requirement. Is it right?
I will not say it's wrong, but my question is different. Just give me answer whether you need, well, yes. What does a QMS do? Does it participate? Does it or does it not? So give me that evaluation. I need that.
It's a do. He will not support.
Not support.
The system will do.
Okay. Okay. I am putting the slide back again. So out of these three categories, where QMS fits, I will pose my question again. So these are the three categories. Now, where does QMS fit?
Type 1.
Why? Software that is used as part of production or the quality system. But quality system in production, like everybody knows about tablet compression. Okay, so we have this particular software which rejects overweight or underweight tablet, correct? So maybe this is the software which need to be validated because it directly participate controlling the quality attribute and production system. Then how QMS participate? Does QMS participate here?
QMS,
My answer is no.
QMS type 3.
Type C. Great. Ahmed, please. Thank you very much. So now, so it's a gift from India. And three for QMS.
Because it is a standalone, but the objective of your software, it will be standalone and independent of any integration.
Yes, thank you. So now I will tell you, though you don't agree, and you have full authority and privilege to not to agree. But why QMS? What QMS does exactly? It handles your documentation. And which type of documentation? Maybe change control. So how do you operate your change? A human raises the change first, the description, then somebody evaluates, then somebody approves, and once it comes out in totality, then you go for the kappa, maybe the action items. So all the
in all activities, yes, but not only a documentation system.
Yes, but
the evidence that the quality management system implemented is the documents, but actually the quality management system implemented in all aspects of organization to assure that you have the product, reliable product. So yes, it's not only a document.
So I will give you another example here. So as I said, QMS doesn't participate or support any system which controls quality of the product, or it doesn't control the production as well. So if we have a kind of software which gives us trend, for example, like for an operation that we have to control the drying time with respect to that trend. So we have data, then with respect to that data, the software then the software is considered as a supporting software to the production system. So that's why I discussed this at length. I wanted input from all of you people, because we all have different interpretation about production and quality system. We have to come to a consensus that what exactly it means. So when I talk about QMS, QMS is a standalone system which doesn't go into production, or a quality system which controls production. That's why I gave you example of a tableting control system. Okay, sorry. So we have very little time.
It's a support system, but not independent system, right? According to this,
it's an independent system. Why it is not an independent system?
Okay, it's an independent system, but it's a support system.
I have one question about that. My question is like, for example, when you are talking about a QMS is not going to be part of that particular, the production. I have an MES system. I built an electronic batch manufacturing record.
Yes.
And wherein I am recording all the information there. Provided if there is a deviation is there. If there is a deviation, I should not be entitled to release the batch. If I did not validate that, the linkage of a deviation with your MES system, right? So then definitely it is going to be a risk, right? It is risk for the human life. So what is my intent of saying it? The interpretation can be different, but when we are talking about the systems of an integrated systems, the kind of validation or the approach what you take it versus an independent systems is going to be different. I'm not I'm not an expert, but I'm just sharing my views on that the question that's been asked.
Which I see. So it becomes record equivalent to a paper. But when I integrate it with my equipment, like with the FBD dryer, and the temperature which I have get there is directly integrated to my batch record, it is fetched directly from the system. Then it becomes very kind of what you say, necessary to validate. So it depends on system which you are buying actually, what features the system has. Because I have a batch management system, record system, which is merely equal to paper. What we do is only documenting the observations. Not writing on paper, we are writing it electronically. So that doesn't have any kind of meaning. So this particular, see, these two parameters, the first two parameters which I am discussing are very critical. And if things either, or you are doing something wrong, so you will have an observation. So correct interpretation of the system is very much necessary. So I have jotted down some example here for you, like the another example is access control system. So if you enter in your plant, either you have a biometric or you have a card system. Now that is also software. So where it goes then? Straightway type 3? Or does it support type 1 or type 2? How do we evaluate? Access control system. Yes, I am closing. So these are all.
Type 3, I think type 3. Access type 3.
3, yes. 3. Great. So I will rush to the second. So I'm sorry, because the time doesn't permit, I have to skip the discussion. But we discussed about one QMS and the second access control system here. But there are similar systems which goes into production like tableting or coating SCADA. Then we have label printing, which is an intermediate thing. So label printing, you can say it supports or it doesn't support. Okay. So next part, the next step is determining the risk-based approach for the CSA. Now, I don't have to elaborate on this part much because everybody is well aware about the ICH Q9 for the risk assessment, and the principle goes hand in hand with here as well. So I don't want to discuss here much. I will just skip this slide. Classical example out of pharma industry, not of pharma industry. Would you like to hear? So, in 2010, Airbus is a company manufactures aeroplane, correct? So they launched A320neo in somewhere in 2010, and it was a fuel efficient aeroplane. So the sales figure increased for Airbus, and at the same time Boeing was a competitor for Airbus. Their sales decreased. So now what to do? You have to be ahead in the market. So what they did is they also tried to improve on their machine, which is Boeing 737. Unfortunately, they were not having time because to give me 5, okay? So they were not having time. So what they did is, with using the same body of aeroplane, they fitted new engines. Okay? So that was the first flaw, because the body was not really suitable for the engines, because the engines were heavier. Now, because of that, they have to, because of the heavy engines, the plane, when it used to take off, it used to stall, and there were a chance of falling down. So what they did is they installed a system which is called as MCAS, which actually what the system used to do is, when the plane is taking off and if it is going too heavier, then it automatically indicates, the sensor gets the information, and the plane is balanced Because of the regulations, they didn't inform to the authorities. They didn't inform to the pilots as well. Because if they tell this, there would have been a full-fledged training for the new design, because it is considered to be a new thing, right? So they decided not to inform to the authorities, FAA, the American Association, and they didn't inform the pilot as well. So this was the risk taken by Boeing. And the third risk was they installed a sensor near to the cockpit, outside, because they have to scale the position of the aircraft. So they have to position the sensor also outside the aircraft, which was right in the front near to the cockpit, which was a wrong position, because any balloon in the air or any bird hit can damage the sensor easily. So they didn't. In the aviation industry, there are two pilots, you know, and all these safety systems, they work separately for both these pilots, but they put only one sensor. So if something happens to that sensor, the entire aircraft will go. Yes. And it happened. In 2018, there were 3 accidents at a stretch. Hundreds of people died. Even after that, Boeing was not ready to accept that there was some fault in the system. Eventually they accepted, then I think hundreds of Boeings were grounded for some time, and then they came out with some CAPA and blah, blah, blah. But it's a classical case where you see the data integrity. Authorities were not informed, pilots were not informed, there was no appropriate training. And again the risk. They never assessed the risk in the right way. So that's the lesson actually. So if you assess your risk, right, you will be out of the, you will achieve the assurance. Sorry. Okay, then determining the appropriate assurance. Once you have that risk assessment done and where the software goes, then it's quite easy, because the first 2 steps, those are quite difficult to interpret and evaluate. So once you do it, I think you are professional enough to understand that once we understand where it goes, what is the risk, then you can eventually design the mitigation plan. So once the mitigation plan is ready, you can go for the additional process control, you can put a human intervention. So something you can do to minimize the risk and put some activities. V-based module which we use. Now when we apply the QA activities, quality assurance activities, where we should go for it? Can anybody answer? The intended use and the risk assessment. We have to do it at the very first step. The user requirement we define, at that stage we have to define that what our software is. And then it's very easy to jot down the user. Now what to write here? Should I write that system has to have access, blah, blah, blah. There is list of activities to do. Now, as I explained in earlier slide, the part 11, 21 CFR part 11 is the law, which you have to mandatorily comply. Rest is guidance. So first you have to focus that whether your system comply to that part. And second, your own requirement to deliverance. So if we are talking about QMS, what do you expect from the system? That becomes your will be shared across, so you can refer to it, and if you have any doubts, you can come back to me. Yes, finished. Last slide. Sorry, Ankit. It's my fault. So this is again a slide where what to do and what not to do. So these are the list of documents which can leverage from the vendor itself. I was having only 20, I think 18 slide only, but time is still less. Okay. Ankit, I'm just running through. So these are some tips. So what not to do and what You are most welcome. You are most welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you.